What is going on, you guys? This is All Day One on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you another Division 2 video. And with this video I'm going to be giving you is going to be a very powerful sniper and rifle build. So you are going to be utilizing both rifles and marksman rifles. This can be used in both PvE and PvP content, but this build is primarily focused on PvE content because we all already know there are one-shot sniper builds out there, and we don't need to see any more build videos on those. But I do want to let you guys know that you can use this build to solo challenge difficulty missions and just really do a lot of damage in general. So first things first is I'm going to go ahead and tell you which specialization you should go with. So you're going to want to go with the sharpshooter, and the reason that is because you're going to want to get this this is my rifle tier 3 because of that extra 15% rifle damage. You're going to want to get digital scope for that extra headshot damage for your marksman rifle. You're going to want to get one in the head all the way up to tier 5 for the extra 25% headshot damage. Deft hands up tier 3 just so you get that reload speed all in maxed out, which helps because the quicker you're reloading, the less amount of time you have to deal damage, or the less amount of time you're not dealing damage. Plus this is going to help in you'll see why this is going to help. I'll mention it in a little bit. And then breath control, this is going to also help a lot, especially due to the fact that you're using a rifle and a marksman rifle. Having increased weapon stability to reduce the recoil is definitely going to help out a lot. And then for down here, this is going to help for a team. Obviously it says all groups that are closer to enemies than you get a 10% increase in headshot damage, but it's not going to affect you. But the only reason why you're going to get this if you're a solo player is because you want to get My Home is My Castle. You do get a small amount of extra gained armor while you are in cover. So you're generally going to be in cover at all times, so you do want to make sure you get this. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the gear. So for the first weapon you're going to want to use is going to be the Model 700. Now with the Model 700, the talent you want to go for is definitely going to be Ranger. And the reason why is because with Ranger, it increases the amount of damage you do percent wise based off of a certain amount of meters that you are from the enemy. Now I don't have the actual talent on my inventory or even in my stash. I used to have it, but I don't know what happened. I think I may have either dismantled it or sold it, but yeah, it's a talent you definitely want to go for on the Model 700, because the Model 700 alone is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, sniper in the game. Yes, there are other snipers in the game that are better suited for other players, but just damage wise, this is going to be the highest amount of damage weapon that you're going to be using. So up next is going to be the secondary weapons. So with your secondary weapon, it's going to be the rifles, and both rifles are going to be very similar to each other. It's going to be the Police MK17 and the SIG 716 CQB. So with the Police MK17, the reason why you want to choose one or the other is because they both have a high amount of damage, and the RPM on them are not too bad. The SIG 716 CQB is the one I would recommend the most, and it's definitely just one of my most favorite rifles in general. But the Police MK17 is very good, especially since it has breadbasket, and breadbasket is definitely the talent I would highly recommend having on any rifle. Now you can also go with boomerang, but I would only recommend going with boomerang if you have at the very least 15 to 20% crit chance in general for your the rifle, because if you don't have that, then it's not gonna the boomerang talent isn't gonna happen as often. If it does proc, then it says critical hits have a 50% chance to return bullets, or return the bullet to the magazine. If a bullet is returned to the magazine, the next shot has a 20% damage increase, or increase in damage. So that is going to definitely help out a lot, especially if you're critting a lot. You're getting a 20% increase in damage a lot more often, and then that's when I would say boomerang would be more often, or be the better option versus using breadbasket. But in the end, it just comes down to what you have. So crit chance over not that much crit chance. If you don't have that much crit chance but you have a lot of headshot damage, stacking up those body shots to add up more headshot damage, up to that 50% more headshot damage, it's gonna be deadly. It's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be a great thing to use. But for the second and the third perk, for the third perk, I would probably recommend using Greased because it's going to help you switch your weapon out faster, which you're going to need to do in just a little bit. I'll explain. For the second perk, Optimized is nice because it does increase the weapon handling. The optimal range isn't too bad. I'm not too worried about it because you don't necessarily need it. Extra accuracy is always going to be useful for rifles because it decreases the blooming effect of the weapon. So the less accuracy you have, the more your weapon will bloom, but the more accuracy you have, the less it blooms. So I would highly recommend it. And the third perk, you can also actually go with Protected Deploy. Now that I'm looking at it, Protected Deploy is also a very good one. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the best perks or third perks to have on a weapon, just because when you're reloading, not Protected Deploy, but the reload one, where when you're reloading your weapon, you get a shield. But even Protected Deploy is nice because whenever you use a skill, you get a shield as well. But now I'm going to go ahead and go on to the Sidearm. So up next is going to be your Sidearm and why I'm using the sawed-off or the double barrel sawed-off. And the reason why is because it has 2 shots. And the reason why I'm saying it has 2 shots is because you need to be able to get this off and reload right away. With everything else, 8 shots, 20 shots, 15 shots, whatever, that's just a little too many rounds that you don't need to use. The reason why you're going to use this is because you're going to have a talent that's going to allow you to reload all your weapons whenever you reload in an empty weapon. So if you have 2 weapons that aren't necessarily empty, they just need to be refilled, whatever, their ammo isn't full, their mag isn't full or anything, you can just go switch to your double barrel sawed off, shoot it twice really quick, and then reload it. And once it's done reloading, both of your weapons are fully reloaded. And what's great about that is it doesn't take anything from your reserve, and I'll go into more detail about that in just a little bit when I go over that talent. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm really using this double barrel for. Now if you can get reload speed on it or something, then that'll also definitely help it a lot more. So for the gear I'm using, it's not all necessarily everything I want it to be. For example, the attributes aren't all the ones I want, all the talents aren't necessarily all the ones I want, and all the gear sets or brand sets aren't necessarily what I want. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you anyways what I'm using, and this still did help me a lot, and I'm still able to put over 500k headshot damage. And regardless, I mean, if I was able to get what I want, I would probably be able to do about 800k or higher headshot damage with this. But with this, for my mask, I am using the Wyvern Wear, the one piece of it, which gives me crit damage increase 7%. Attributes 401 skill power, do not need it at all. You don't need any skill power. Honestly, you just might as well have 0 skill power, or just have the cooldown reduction. That's what that could have been replaced with, is cooldown reduction. And the 21% damage to elites is really nice, and then that hard hitting talent, which gives 15% damage to elites, is also very, very nice. So that means I'm at another 36% damage to elites just from that, which is going to be useful, especially as a PvE build. And also what I would replace with that skill power, like I said, cooldown would have been a better replacement if you did have the electronics on it as already. But if anything, crit chance would have been better, crit damage, weapon damage, marksman or rifle damage, and then the headshot damage would have all been better options for that. Now for the backpack, I'm using Badger Tough, which gives me damage to elites. And then for the health damage or the attributes, I get health, crit hit, crit chance, and bonus armor. And the crit damage and crit chance are pretty low attributes on here, but it's not too bad. And then I do get a utility mod slot. The utility mod slots are only used for skill power. Now for the attributes, what I would have rather gone with is just pretty much all reds rather than red, red, blue, blue. I would have rather had more crit chance and more crit damage with the weapon damage and headshot damage, or even more damage to elites. Any of those would have been fine, and then if I could have had the talent, it would have 150% been the damage to elites talent. Next up is going to be my gloves. So the gloves I'm using is the Heraldi Holdings. So Heraldry Holdings is going to give you 10% increase in accuracy, 10% increase in headshot damage, and 10% increase in maximum or marksman rifle damage, which you are going to want to end up getting 3 pieces of these if you end up finding the right set pieces. And for the attribute, it's LMG damage. You obviously don't want that because you're not going to be dealing LMG damage. You want to have either marksman damage, weapon damage, rifle damage, crit chance, crit damage, etc., etc. You don't want to have any other specific weapons that are not included. And then for the talents, I'm using Obliterate. Depleting an enemy's armor grants 25% critical hit damage for 5 seconds. So that's not too bad, but in my opinion, I would rather go with the hard hitting because you're doing 15% more damage to elites, which is guaranteed. You're not guaranteed on hitting crits, so that extra 25% crit hit damage for the next 5 seconds is more than likely not going to be useful for a marksman rifle. Maybe for a rifle if you have a high amount of crit chance, or an SMG, but we're not going to be running an SMG. Next up is going to be the chest. So with the chest, I'm using the Alps Summit armament, and it's nice because you do get the 10% cooldown reduction, but you're better off using the Heraldry Holdings if that does come in with the chest piece. If it doesn't, then oh well, the DNH set is obviously still going to be really good because of that extra 5 or 10% increase in accuracy is very nice as well. But I did not want to give this up because the attributes on this is beautiful. You get 10% weapon damage and 17% headshot damage. Very, very, very nice, and a very rare drop to see both of those at a pretty high stat number. And now for the talents, I have the capacitive, which gives 20% skill duration. Now you don't necessarily need this or even really want this. I would still 150% go with damage to elites regardless, because the more damage to elites you have, the quicker you can kill a boss and yellow bar enemies. But capacitive is also nice because if you do drop a chem launcher heal, it stays up a little bit longer. If you drop the hive, is it the hive? The revive ability, it lasts a little bit longer. You know, everything that has a duration lasts a little bit longer because of the capacitive talent. So if you wanted to, if you're using abilities that do have a duration, then I can see capacitive working out for you. But like I said, the damage to elites is definitely going to be the better suit. Now for the holster, this is the talent you're going to definitely want to look for, because this talent gives you filler up, and it says reloading from empty reloads all weapons. So you don't even need your weapons to be out of ammo. That's why you would just switch to the sidearm and then shoot it, reload it, and then switch back to your whatever main weapon you're using, main or secondary weapon. And it'll, like I said, it'll restore all the ammo back into the magazine without having to take any from its reserves. So if you've played Anthem and you've played the Interceptor, you would know the elusive talisman. If you know what the elusive talisman is, that's what it kind of works like in a sense. Obviously you're not getting ammo back for dashing or dodging or anything, but in the sense of not having the ammo being taken from the reserves is what's happening. It's basically magically being given to you. The attributes on here is also crit damage, which is very, very nice, 20%. And then it's also the Heraldry's Holdings, so I'm actually at the 10% headshot damage. I do need a third piece, so that would have given me the 10% increase in marksman rifle damage. And for the other attributes you could definitely go for is, like I said, weapon damage or headshot damage, marksman damage, or I already said weapon damage, rifle damage, etc., etc. Anything else can work. Crit damage is still great, but in my opinion, I would highly recommend going with more crit chance, so your base is more defended, and you also give your team an increase in crit chance. Or not your team, what am I talking about? You're giving yourself an increase in crit chance so you can hit harder more often. And the last one is going to be the knee pads. So the knee pads I am using is Overlord Armaments, which gives my rifle damage 10% more rifle damage. And then the attributes, it's a 6.5% crit chance, and then a 15% damage to elites from the talents. This is pretty much perfect the way I want. And then the mods you get is an offensive protocol mod, which is also perfect. And then the mod I'm using is gonna give me 1% weapon damage and 4% marksman rifle critical hit damage. this is all perfect. In my opinion, this is a perfect min-max, not necessarily min-max, but a perfectly built knee pads for this type of build, because you are using a rifle and you do need that crit chance, and you are relying on heavy amount of damage to elites. And then for the abilities I'm using the Hive, the Revive Hive, because I was soloing. Now if you're soloing, I would highly recommend it. If you're not, then you can either go, you can still use the Reviver Hive, but it just has a very long cooldown, or you can end up going with the Flamethrower turret, the Incinerator, because it's great to keep enemies at bay, to keep them from rushing you and whatnot, or flanking you. And then the second ability is going to be the Chem Launcher Reinforcer, because Chem Launcher Reinforcer, I would think everyone needs this, especially if you're playing solo or even in a group. Chem Launcher Reinforcer is just a great ability to have, just in general. And now just to take a look at the stats for my gear talents, you'll see Capacitive, Hard Hitting, Obliterate, Hard Hitting, Filler Up, Weapon talents, Breadbasket, Accurate, Cannon, Breadbasket, Distance, Double Duty, Fast Hands, Accurate, Double Duty, and then the Special Weapon. Now for my weapon stats, I'm at 101.2k weapon damage, 8.5% crit chance, 64% crit damage, 236% headshot damage. Very, very, very nice. It's a lot of damage. 50% reload speed bonus, 30% in accuracy and stability. Now for my rifle, I'm at 38.8k weapon damage with 18.5% crit chance, 70% crit hit damage, 113% headshot damage, and same thing, 20% accuracy and stability with 30% reload speed bonus. And everything else is not necessarily anything you need to worry about. And I'm going to actually equip the SIG so you can see the damage on that as well as the crit chance and everything. Let me just go ahead and switch out the mods. Oh no, I think all the mods are correct. Yep, so all of my mods here are correct, which is something I also need to make sure I go over with you guys. So on both rifles, you do want to make sure you have Reflex Sight, giving you crit damage and less accuracy, which don't worry about the accuracy. And then Laser Pointer, more crit chance with less stability. And then for the sniper, I'm using is going to be Digital Scope, which you get from the Sharpshooter talents or skill tree. And then I'm using Compensated, which gives me increased reload speed. I don't know why I'm using that. Actually, I'm taking that off so I get more accuracy. And then Compensator, 7.62 increase in stability, but I lose accuracy as well. And the weapon, or for the SIG actually, so the SIG is at 18.5% crit chance, 85% crit damage, 113% headshot damage as well, and 20% accuracy, stability, and 30% reload speed bonus. And remember, my SIG also has boomerang, so I'm gonna do a showcase video on both weapons, or all three weapons on these test dummies, just to show you guys the damage output that these could potentially put out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on difficulty named, because that just means I'm going against named bosses. And I'm going to show you the sniper first. So as you can see, the damage last hit is at 0. And I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little headshot, 537,330.2 damage last hit. And it's pretty much like a 2-shot kill. So you can kill this named enemy in 2 headshots. Now if it's an armored enemy, which for some reason I would like to see them add a armored dummy, but an armored dummy or an armored enemy is going to take a lot more hits because you have to break his armor first. So an LMG is going to be highly recommended for that, or just using the rifle, regular rifle. Now we're going to go ahead and see the regular rifle from this distance, unfortunately. And the last damage hit was 50,381.5 with 368.7 DPS, 0.7k DPS. Now with the SIG, I mean the Police MK17, it's a little bit in a closer range, but we're gonna see. That was a lot higher in damage, 448.9k DPS, and then damage last hit was 119,598 damage. It's insane how much damage difference this one does in comparison to the SIG. 130,000 damage SIG did. Oh wait, was that the lightweight? No, this is the SIG. I'm pretty sure I was using the SIG. Yeah, so it's not too bad in damage. So yeah, the police MK17 is 100% stronger, but I still like the SIG in general. It's just a lot more, it feels more accurate, I guess, and it's probably because of the fire rate. But anyways, that's pretty much it with this video. I know I'm not really like doing a million damage or anything, but I could potentially hit a million, maybe, hitting headshots and whatnot. I mean, look at that, 537.3k damage, and I'm not fully min-maxed anyway, so I think this build has opened up a lot of doors for potential high damage sniper builds for PvE content. For PvP, you would basically use everything I'm using here, except you would just take away the elite damage and add weapon damage or crit chance or whatever, but this is mainly the elite killer build. You're going to be killing elites really quick, really easily, especially in challenge missions. You'll be able to help your team out a lot just by killing those enemies down. But anyways, that is pretty much it with this video. If this helped you out, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe if you have any questions or concerns. I know this is a pretty long video. I'm sorry, I try to keep it low. I try to keep it quick. I am tired, so sometimes I might be going off topic for some reason. And yeah, I'm doing that right now. But anyways, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll try my best to answer them to the best of my ability. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is all day one on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.